And for a lot of the testing that both Edwards, Virginia Tech did, but also the state of Michigan, they were relying on residents basically to tell them what what was coming into the house. You mentioned, I mean, these weren't plumbers; they're just untrained residents. So how would they have the expertise to know that these were lead service lines?
Well, they gave them a hour class or something, to show them the different types of material and what they were. But if you have a painted copper line or a painted whatever, I mean, if you don't know what you're looking for, it's easily to misdiagnose what is actually coming in. And a few times where that was done, and I was made aware where there was galvanized lines coming in that they were telling the residents it was safe, and that's not the fact. Everybody knows that the galvanized is just as bad as the lead.
Could you kind of explain to the audience, because all we have heard is lead, 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 why galvanized could be equally, if not more dangerous, in terms of, heavy metal contamination?
Well, the galvanized corrodes on the inside over the years. It actually coats over, but when the corrosive river water ate away the coating on the inside of the galvanized, it left a lot more porous. Very hard to coat it with the phosphates, and that's flaking off now because it was, for 18 months or however long they didn't treat the river water properly. It was very corrosive, and it ate into the layer that was on the inside, and over the years that collected any lead that was coming from the lead service line to the galvanized. It stuck on the inside of the galvanized pipe. I've got one right over there I could show you. But as that releases, that's where you're getting a lot of the high level lead readings right now because it's particulate lead and it breaks off. The lead pipe is actually recoating with the phosphate because it's nice and smooth. So the lead is probably better now, but the galvanized, I don't know if that'll ever recoat safely. And it's not just the service lines, it's in your house.
And that's something, they're changing the lead service lines. And it recently came out, I think last week, that they have way more lead service lines still under the ground that are obviously damaged than they thought. There's about 14,000 they've estimated underneath the ground. Harold, you were saying there might even be more than that. But basically, they don't know how many lead service lines they have. Obviously, the lead service lines, along with the galvanized, have been severely damaged here. But yet, the EPA-funded scientists and the state are saying, according to our data, according to our testing, the water is now back to normal levels. And that is being used to essentially shut down water pods, send less relief to Flint. And in my view, kind of, crisis over. Now it's just about changing the lead service lines. Could you kind of talk about, because they're only changing the lead service lines, they're not fixing the interior plumbing in people's homes?
No, they are changing the lead and the galvanized service lines, but anything inside the house after the water meter is the responsibility of the homeowner, and they're not addressing that. I kind of compare it to if the power company were to send you 440 volts into your house and ruin all the wiring in your house, somebody would probably be responsible to replace the wiring. I think it's the same thing that happened to the interior plumbing, and nobody is addressing the interior plumbing. I think it needs to be addressed, and I don't know if it ever will, but it needs to be.
So, correct me if I'm wrong, if I'm picturing it the right way, but even if they change the lines and they have these brand new lines under the street, the water could come safely in the service lines, but once it reaches the interior plumbing, if the pipes in the home are corroded and damaged, isn't that still potentially a problem for sediment, lead, what have you?
Yeah, we've been trying to point that out for 2.5 years now. I tested the sediment in the galvanized pipe in my house, and it was 1.5 million parts per billion, and that was released from that water, and that's how bad that sediment is in them pipes. Now, a lot of the old homes, the galvanized pipes have been replaced because over the years, they fill up with sediment and they will plug up. The issue that happened was running that corrosive river water through them actually just ate into that corrosive layer and just released it all. So will it recoat? I don't know. I mean, there's still a lot of homes in Flint that have galvanized pipes. And as far as shutting the water pods off, they just replaced all the lead service lines on the street next to me last fall. And during that construction period, I mean, there was nothing but brown water coming through my taps again. You know, I mean, we knew it wasn't good then because of what happened before, but I don't think they should have shut the water pods off until all these lines are replaced.
And I want to ask you, because in the story you told me that, so basically Mark Edwards, who's the EPA funded scientist, he did 5 rounds of testing over 2 years, and he started with almost 300 homes, and it narrowed down, he tested 138 homes total. But basically, to meet the EPA's lead and copper rule, he claims he did. I don't think he did, and I think my reporting shows he didn't. But he basically, of his 138 total homes, he basically took a little subset of that, of 34 homes, to say he claimed the EPA's lead and copper rule. Once again, the lead and copper rule, to boil it down, mandates that you have to test the most at-risk homes for lead contamination in the water. And you told me in the story, I mean, for something like what happened here, that kind of sample size is, I mean, what do you think about that kind of sample size?
Basically, every home or every water customer in this city had contaminated, untreated water coming into it for approximately 18 months. I mean, I wouldn't think testing just a few homes would be sufficient. I would think you'd want to take a big sample all over the city and verify what is actually coming into the house and document it. I would think that would be part of it after what happened in Flint. But, you know, if 40 homes and randomly selected is all the EPA requires, then I think the EPA rules need to be rewritten.